Welcome back, everyone, to our podcast. I go by the name Muiz Adigun, and it feels good to be back on the podcast once again. And I'm here with Favor. Today, we have an exciting one as we will be focusing on a crucial aspect of our social media experience, which is the security. Throughout this episode, we'll be diving into the world of social media security. We'll explore common threats, discuss best practices for safe online behavior, and equip you with the knowledge to protect yourself and your organization on these powerful platforms. So, Favor, I know you have a lot of experience in this. Can you please give us an overview on how important social media is to our listeners at home?
Okay, before I move on to your question, let me just put a disclaimer on what you said there. You mentioned there that I have experience when it comes to social media, but the truth of the matter is I do not. I don't consider myself an expert when it comes to social media. I don't consider myself a social media savvy person. I'm not. You can't regard me as an active social media user like that. I'm not as active as the average user, in fact. So, but I do believe it's important that we discuss things like this. We discuss issues that surround social media, because it affects us. It has become part of our everyday life, and we can't seem to do without social media. That being said, let me just move on to your question. I believe you wanted me to give an overview of how social media has become important to us, or how important it is to us. you know but let me start by saying this. Social media has become more of like a cornerstone of modern day communication today. It influences every aspect of our life, both the personal life, our professional lives, in many significant ways that we can even imagine. But I'm just going to give my answer in two different ways. So I'm going to be giving a personal context and a professional context. So firstly, for communication's sake, let me put it that way. For communication and connection's sake, social media helps a lot. Social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, they allow us to stay connected with our friends and family. And we can't even deny our reliance on these social media platforms. No matter the distance, no matter where we are on this earth, we can still have real-time connection, real-time communication with our friends, our loved ones, with the help of social media platforms like this, where we can share our personal experiences. One other thing I will add to this personal context is, it helps build communities. And what I mean by communities, I'm talking about, online communities where there are spaces for individuals like you and I to find support, and share our personal interests, whether it may be related to our hobbies, our lifestyle choices. For example, I'm a sports person, especially when it comes to football. When you go on my social media, I tend to connect more with people who have interest in football and, obviously cybersecurity. So I tend to connect and share my thoughts, give my takes on topics that surround these things. So that's just how influential social media is to my personal life. Social media is also important when it comes to information and awareness. Social media serves as a major source of news and information today. Believe it or not, I was reading an article the other day, where I think the writer put it there that many users of X or Twitter, I still call it Twitter today, so many users of Twitter, they tend to rely more on Twitter as their main source of news and information. You want to find out what's going on, what's happening around you, the first place people go to is Twitter. To check what's trending, to check what's going on, what's happening around them. Just helps people stay informed about current events and topics of interest. Another thing I would like to mention as regards our personal context with social media is that it helps build our identity. It helps us shape our identity, and it also provides that channel of expression. What do I mean by that? These platforms, They offer us kind of like a space, where we can express ourselves. For creatives, for those that for the creatives, it allows them to share their creativity with other people. It helps people build their personal brand. I don't think I can mention any brand today that exists and is being run successfully without some form of online identity. Some form of online identity on these social media platforms. It's highly influential. Finally, when it comes to social media as it regards our personal life, our personal context, it's a great source of entertainment, and I believe we can all relate to this one. Social media offers a lot of entertainment options, like a lot. From one video content on YouTube to another on TikTok, to memes, to interactive content on Instagram, Twitter, all around. Entertainment everywhere. It's just that influential. So that's just what social media has to do with our personal life. I believe there are so much more, but I believe at the foundational level, I think these are factors that point to how important social media is to our personal lives. Now let me come to the professional context. Social media is very, very, very important when it comes to networking in our professional life. We have platforms today like LinkedIn, which is very, very vital. I believe you are familiar with LinkedIn. It's very, very vital for professional networking. It helps individuals, it helps people connect with their colleagues, their industry leaders and their potential employers, and employees with their potential and people with their potential employees. Let me just put it that way. So it's very, very important. Social media is becoming more and more influential in the professional space. It helps in branding. I talked about building brands. Social media is very crucial for building our personal brands, and professionals, experts that we have today, especially in the tech space that we are, where they can showcase their expertise, their achievements, through these social media platforms. So it goes a long way in helping people put themselves out there, helping professionals put themselves out there, helping organizations put themselves out there. It also helps with marketing and promotion. For those of us that run businesses, that run service providing companies, it helps push your businesses to people that might be potential customers of whatever it is you are offering. Promote your products, your services, and you can also engage with the customers. Effective social media marketing can drive a lot of traffic, like a lot of traffic, that will help you increase your sales and enhance your brand identity and loyalty generally. So there's just a lot that social media is doing in the professional space. I talked about helping individuals connect with their potential employers and potential employees. That just goes to show how much social media is influential and important in recruitment and job search. Employers and job seekers alike, they all use social media for recruitment and job searches. Companies most likely will post their job openings on platforms like LinkedIn. You can go on LinkedIn now, and I bet you would find a lot of job openings there, where people are willing to recruit, their potential employees. There's just, I can go on and on and on. We have customer engagement and support, where business owners, organizations, service providers can, engage with their customer and support them. That's just an all-in-one platform. It also helps with market research, where you can identify what your customer preferences are, the market trends, and what your competitors are getting onto, for their business to stay firm. So that's just how powerful the social media is. Its ability to facilitate connection, communication and information sharing. It just makes it an essential tool, that will help both our personal and professional lives. Its influences our day-to-day life, and the way we operate in today's day and age. So I can go on and on and on about how social media is influential to our daily life. There are various factors I can bring in, but if I start, I may not be able to finish. We might not be able to finish this episode. So it's very, very, very essential and powerful in our day-to-day life. So that's just how I see it. I believe that's just an overview of how I believe we have an idea now of how important it is to our lives.
Thank you, Favor, for your elongative explanation. I really like the fact that you used real life examples while you were explaining. Correct me if I'm wrong. You say you're not tech savvy, you're not social media savvy, but I really find that hard to believe.
Actually, I'm not. I'm not just that active. I'm not as active as the average person. So when you mentioned that if I have experience, or you mentioned that I have experience, I just laughed. I just found it funny that you said I have experience in social media. So that's just what I meant. But I have an idea of what goes on or how impactful these things are. So that's what I just meant by I'm not social media savvy, but at least it's important that we discuss these things.
All right, if you say so, I agree with you. So let's dive into our topic today: social media security. We all know that social media is influential and it also has its own flaws. So, Favor, can you discuss social media risk faced by individuals and organizations and how we can mitigate those risks?
Okay, thank you very much for that your question. In fact, I believe now we are getting into it. The main focus of our topic. Social media and the security aspect of social media, or social media security rather. When we use social media, it has various security risks that affect both individuals, that is yourself, and
the
organizations. Exactly. So there are so many, I can't even mention them all, but I have an idea of some common risks that are open to individuals and organizations. The first one I would like to go with is a phishing attack.
Okay.
I believe this is a common, for those of us that are into cybersecurity, we should be familiar with what phishing is. But for our listeners that are not familiar, it's just let me just paint the picture for you. It's a form of attack where cyber criminals would use social media to send fraudulent messages that will trick you, that will want to deceive you and trick you into revealing some of your sensitive information.
I think I used to get some messages like that on my social media pages.
Exactly.
Like they will send a link that I should click on it that is very urgent, something like that.
Exactly. Or those of us that are listening that have come across.
Sorry to cut you short. So what should I do when I receive such messages?
The best thing to do is just to ignore it. If you notice anything that looks odd or suspicious or too good to be true. The other day I was talking with a friend of mine, and he said his cousin sent him a link on WhatsApp that the government is sharing 50,000 to everybody if you can fill in your details and click the link and share your details. So I just laughed. I told him he should ignore it because it's just too good to be true.
Yes. Right.
So that's just how a phishing attack is carried out. It's just to deceive you into revealing your personal information, and sometimes it can be your password. I was talking to a friend the other day, and he explained how he almost fell for a phishing attack. He received an email from a cyber criminal pretending to be Netflix. That was asking him to log into his account to change his password. And he almost fell for it. So these are the tactics that cyber criminals will use, to attack you and gain access to your valuable online data. So yeah. So another risk I would like to mention is account hijacking. Account hijacking. For those of us that have multiple social media accounts, and you tend to use or reuse the same password across all your social media accounts. These things can be exploited, and they can take over all your social media accounts, and they can have access to all information about you.
Okay, what you're trying to say now is if I use the same password for my Facebook account, Instagram account, and TikTok accounts, so if I use the same password, I can be violated.
Yeah, you are vulnerable. You are very much vulnerable to an attack. You have a Facebook account, Twitter account, Instagram account, TikTok, Snapchat. What else again? Which one do we have again? Because I know we have so many today. But when you use the same password for all these accounts, you are vulnerable to attacks. And you can just wake up one morning and find out that your account is no longer your own. So that's just it. So another thing is another risk I would like to mention is malware distribution. For those of us that are not familiar with it, our listeners that are not too familiar, the term malware just simply refers to malicious software. Any software or any program that is intended to cause harm to your device or to your network.
Is virus an example of a malware?
Yes, it's an example of it's a premium example of what it is. Anything, any software or any program that is designed to cause damage or disrupt your device or your network or your account. And this can be done through links, attachments that are shared on social media. Exactly. They can be carrying malicious programs or softwares that can infect both your personal and your if you are the type that works in an organization, this can affect your organization's devices. If you are working in an organization that uses official laptops, you are given official laptops or device to work with. Opening these links and attachments can cause these devices damage.
It can also lead to data loss.
Exactly. So these are the things we need to be wary of. We need to be careful and watchful of. These things can happen at any time. Attackers are these cyber criminals are one of the most patient set of people. They are just waiting for that one slip up where they will just pounce on whatever information they can get and use it for their own benefits. So now there is I know some of you are already getting worried as to how you can defend yourself or what you can do if you are faced with so many vulnerabilities like this. But believe it or not, there are so many strategies you can take to strengthen your social media presence. And I'll just go through them so that we can have an idea of what they are. The first thing I would like to mention is having strong passwords. Oh my God, I can't even stress this one more than I am doing right now. Have strong passwords. Enough of the password 123. Enough of the ABCD. Enough of the 1998. Enough of the Femi 1998. All those type of password. Your first name and your date, your year of birth. Enough of all those kind of passwords. You need to establish complex passwords. Passwords that make use of different characters, small letters, capital letters. Some characters, some symbols that you are allowed to use. You can just explore and look for ones that you can easily remember. Because that's another important part. It's one thing for you to set complex password, is another thing for you to remember them. So it's very, very important. Strong passwords are very, very, very important. Another thing you would like to do is to enable two-factor authentication. In fact, I think all the social media accounts now are encouraging their users to enable two-factor authentication. I believe WhatsApp does their own.
It uses pattern and fingerprints.
Yes. So you can't access my WhatsApp account if I have enabled two-factor authentication. That is two different ways to authenticate that I'm actually the owner of the account. So once these things are enabled, it's not just your password that they will need to gain access to your account. There are other authentication factors that may be used.
Also, you can also use OTP. one-time password.
Yes, yes.
For authentication.
Yes, this is an example too. So another thing you can do is to be more cautious and vigilant of links. Avoid clicking on suspicious links or downloading attachments from unknown sources. You receive an email. Click this link to make 20 million in 3 days. All these fishy and too good to be true messages. Share to forward this link to 20 people in your contacts to win 5 million naira. All those kind of fishy and suspicious links. Those are the things you should be cautious and you need to avoid. You need to keep monitoring your activity. Keep an eye on your account activity. That's another important point. Keep an eye on the activity of your account for any suspicious behavior. Anything that just looks out of the ordinary. If you notice you haven't done some things with your social media account. I was talking with a friend the other day, and then he mentioned a scenario where a colleague of his was talking about how they got hacked, and one of the ways they found out was that his email account was being used to send emails to other email accounts without him knowing. He just opened his email one day and he checked his outbox, and he noticed that emails have been sent using his email address. So you need to continually monitor your social media activity. Another important step or strategy is to educate and train. These are for organizations and people that are heads of organizations. You need to regularly educate your employees, about the risks and the best practices to stay safe on social media, both for their personal use and for the sake of the organization too. So there are so many strategies that can be taken to mitigate all these vulnerabilities that can keep you resilient to all these attacks. And I believe if we take these things seriously, we can browse the internet and go on social media much more confidently. So yeah, those are the risks, and I believe those are the mitigation strategies that can be taken.
By being aware of these risks and implementing robust security measures, individuals and organizations can better protect themselves from the dangers associated with social media usage. Thank you, Favor, for giving us more insights on this topic. I believe we've learned a thing or two from that, and I believe our listeners will be more cautious when they use social media. For our new listeners, I go by the name Muiz. Kindly like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Set Talks Podcast. See you in the next episode.